Welcome to Disruptarian Radio, where we challenge the status quo and explore the forefront of social, legal, and technological change. I'm your host, Rich Garvey Banton, and today we're examining the fascinating and somewhat unsettling future of lie detection. Imagine a world where detecting lies is 100% accurate. No more false confessions, no more wrongful convictions, and a world where the truth always comes to light. But what happens when technology becomes so powerful that we can no longer hide even our smallest secrets? What kind of society would we become? To help us unpack this complex topic, we have three incredible guests. First, we're joined by retired Detective Sam Harris from the Salt Lake City Police Department, who's seen firsthand how traditional lie detection methods can shape and sometimes hinder criminal investigations. Also with us is Dr. Lisa Palmer, a seasoned polygraph examiner who's here to discuss the evolving landscape of lie detection. Finally, we're privileged to have Mark Jacobs, a man who spent nearly 2 decades wrongfully convicted before groundbreaking lie detection technology exonerated him. Detective Harris, let's start with you. Can you walk us through the evolution of lie detection technology during your time in law enforcement?
Certainly, Rich. When I first started in law enforcement, lie detection primarily relied on polygraph tests. These machines measured physiological responses like heart rate, blood pressure, and perspiration. While they were useful tools, they were far from foolproof. Over the years, we saw incremental improvements in polygraph technology, but the fundamental principles remained the same. The real game changer came with the introduction of AI and machine learning into the field.
The shift has been remarkable, Rich. Traditional polygraphs, while valuable, have inherent limitations. They can be affected by factors like nervousness or medication, leading to false positives or negatives.
Dr. Palmer, as a polygraph examiner, what's your perspective on this transition?
The introduction of AI has opened up new possibilities. We're now able to analyze a much broader range of indicators, including micro-expressions, voice stress, and even subtle changes in body language that the human eye might miss.
That's fascinating. Detective Harris, how did these advancements impact your work?
As these new technologies emerged, we saw a significant improvement in our ability to assess truthfulness. It wasn't just about getting a yes or no anymore. We could better understand the nuances of a subject's responses. However, it's important to note that even with these advancements, we never relied solely on technology. It was always used in conjunction with thorough investigation and skilled interrogation techniques.
Dr. Palmer, can you elaborate on the potential for increased accuracy with AI-driven methods?
Absolutely. AI-driven lie detection has the potential to be significantly more accurate than traditional methods. These systems can process vast amounts of data in real time, identifying patterns and correlations that humans might overlook. For example, they can analyze subtle changes in facial expressions, variations in vocal tone, and even physiological responses that aren't visible to the naked eye. By combining all these data points, AI can provide a more comprehensive and accurate assessment of truthfulness.
That's incredible. Are we close to achieving 100% accuracy?
While we've made significant strides, 100% accuracy is still an aspiration rather than a reality. Human behavior is incredibly complex, and there will always be variables that are difficult to account for. However, the accuracy rates we're seeing with AI-driven methods are considerably higher than traditional polygraphs.
If I may add, Rich, while increased accuracy is crucial, it's equally important to consider the ethical implications of these advancements. As we get closer to perfect lie detection, we need to be mindful of privacy concerns and potential misuse of the technology.
Excellent point, Detective Harris. It seems like we're on the cusp of a new era in lie detection, but it's clear that with great power comes great responsibility. We'll need to carefully navigate the ethical landscape as we move forward. Mark, your story is truly remarkable. Can you tell us more about how this new technology played a role in proving your innocence after nearly 2 decades behind bars?
Well, Rich, it was nothing short of a miracle. For years I had maintained my innocence, but the system just wouldn't believe me. Back when I was convicted, we didn't have the advanced technology we have today. Polygraph tests weren't even admissible as evidence in my case. But everything changed when lie detection technology evolved. This wasn't just about measuring my heart rate or sweat like old polygraphs. Their technology examined my responses in ways no human could. They analyzed how I spoke, my facial movements, and countless other indicators that traditional lie detectors simply can't pick up on. It was this comprehensive analysis that finally proved what I'd been saying all along, that I was innocent. The experience was surreal. After years of feeling powerless, suddenly this technology was able to see the truth that had been there all along. It didn't just change my life, it gave me my life back.
That's truly incredible, Mark. Dr. Palmer, can you help us understand how AI can detect sincerity more effectively than traditional polygraph methods?
Certainly, Rich. What we're seeing with AI-driven lie detection is a quantum leap forward in technology. Traditional polygraphs, while useful, have significant limitations. They primarily measure physiological responses to stress, things like increased heart rate, blood pressure, and sweating. The problem is these responses can be triggered by factors other than lying, such as nervousness or anxiety about the test itself. AI, on the other hand, has the ability to learn and adapt. It doesn't just look at stress indicators, it analyzes patterns over time. The AI systems being developed by companies like Veracity Integrity are trained on vast amounts of data, allowing them to identify subtle cues that indicate sincerity or deception. These systems process an enormous amount of information simultaneously. They look at vocal tone, pitch, and cadence. They analyze microexpressions, those fleeting facial movements that occur in fractions of a second and are often imperceptible to the human eye. They consider body language, eye movement, and even the specific words and phrases a person uses. What's more, AI can detect patterns and correlations that humans might miss. It's not just looking at individual indicators in isolation, but how they all work together. This holistic approach allows for a much more nuanced and accurate assessment of truthfulness. In Mark's case, the AI was able to analyze his responses across multiple interviews and statements, building a comprehensive picture of his sincerity that went far beyond what any human interviewer or traditional polygraph could achieve. It's this depth and breadth of analysis that makes AI-driven lie detection so powerful and why it was able to help exonerate Mark after all these years.
If these technologies reach their full potential, they could revolutionize how we approach investigations. We'd have fewer wrongful arrests, fewer false confessions, and more accurate results in court. Imagine being able to definitively say whether someone is lying. That could speed up investigations and help us solve cases faster. But it's not just about speed, it's about fairness. That being said, there's a darker side too. If we become too reliant on this technology, where do we draw the line? Could it be used for constant surveillance? That's where the dystopian fears come in. This isn't just about law enforcement. What happens if this technology extends beyond the justice system and starts getting used in everyday life?
Absolutely. While it could be incredibly useful in legal contexts, imagine a world where every interaction is scrutinized for honesty. Employers could use it to monitor employees, governments could use it for surveillance, even in personal relationships. It's a slippery slope. In the wrong hands, this technology could lead to a society where privacy doesn't exist and where even a harmless white lie could have major consequences. The potential for misuse is significant. We need to consider carefully how this technology is implemented and regulated. In the hands of law enforcement, it could be a powerful tool for justice. But if it becomes widely available, we risk creating a society of constant suspicion and mistrust. Think about the implications for personal freedom. If people know they can be caught in even the smallest lie, how does that affect their behavior? Will we lose the ability to be tactful or kind in situations where a small untruth might be socially beneficial? There's also the question of accuracy. While AI-driven lie detection is improving, it's not infallible. What happens if people start to rely on it as the ultimate arbiter of truth? We could see wrongful convictions based on technological errors, which would be a step backward, not forward.
In law enforcement, we'd need strict protocols for when and how this technology can be used. It should be a tool to aid investigations, not replace human judgment entirely. We'd also need to ensure that it's not used to coerce confessions or violate civil liberties. Outside of law enforcement, the risks are even greater. If this technology becomes widely available, we could see it being used in job interviews, relationship counseling, or even in schools. The potential for abuse is enormous. We need to have serious discussions about the ethical use of this technology before it becomes widespread. It's crucial that we establish clear boundaries and regulations to protect individual privacy and maintain the trust that's fundamental to a functioning society.
This brings us to the ethical side of things. Mark, as someone who has been both harmed and saved by the justice system, what do you think about a world where lie detection is infallible? Could this technology create a dystopian future?
It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, I think it could stop wrongful convictions like mine, but on the other, what happens if it's used to control people? In prison, you learn how much value there is in privacy, even in your thoughts. If lie detection becomes 100% accurate, how far does that go? Could it get to the point where you're afraid to think certain things because the tech might pick up on it? That's terrifying.
Exactly. The idea of 100% accuracy is appealing in law enforcement, but outside of that, it could lead to constant monitoring. The justice system should benefit from it, but we have to be careful about how it's used elsewhere. I've seen enough abuse of power in my career to know that if we're not careful, this could lead to serious civil rights issues.
So we're talking about a world where every word, every thought, every emotion could be scrutinized. Dr. Palmer, do you think we'll ever reach 100% accuracy? And if so, what kind of safeguards should we have in place?
Technologically, we're getting closer, but we'll never reach full infallibility. Humans are complex, and AI is only as good as the data we feed it. That said, if we ever do get to a point where lie detection is almost perfect, we'll need strict ethical guidelines. We'll have to decide when it's appropriate to use and, more importantly, when it's not. If we don't, we could see a society where trust is no longer built on human connection, but on data alone. That would be a dystopian future none of us want to live in.
Detective Harris, you mentioned civil rights issues. Can you elaborate on how this technology might impact our fundamental freedoms?
Well, think about freedom of speech. If every word is analyzed for truthfulness, people might become afraid to express opinions or ideas that could be misinterpreted. It could stifle creativity, political dissent, even simple everyday interactions. And what about the right to remain silent? If technology can accurately detect lies, does that right become meaningless? These are the kinds of questions we need to grapple with.
Mark, from your perspective, how do we balance the potential benefits in preventing wrongful convictions with these privacy concerns?
It's a tough balance. I wouldn't wish my experience on anyone, and if this technology can prevent others from going through what I did, that's invaluable. But at the same time, I worry about creating a society where everyone is constantly under suspicion. Maybe the answer lies in strict regulations, only allowing this technology in specific legal settings, with oversight and transparency. We can't let the pursuit of truth come at the cost of our fundamental rights.
Dr. Palmer, as someone at the forefront of this field, what ethical considerations do you think need to be at the center of developing these technologies?
First and foremost, we need to prioritize consent and transparency. People should know when this technology is being used on them and have the right to refuse in non-criminal contexts. We also need to consider the potential for bias in the AI algorithms. If the data used to train these systems isn't diverse and representative, we could end up with technology that discriminates against certain groups. And finally, we need to think about data protection. If we're collecting such intimate data about people's thoughts and emotions, how do we ensure that information is secure and not misused?
All right. As we wrap up our discussion, I'd like each of you to paint a picture of what the future might look like with near-perfect lie detection technology. Detective Harris, let's start with you. How do you envision this technology shaping law enforcement and society at large?
Well, Rich, I see both promise and peril. In law enforcement, we could see a revolution in how we conduct investigations. Interrogations would become more efficient and accurate, potentially leading to faster case resolutions and fewer wrongful convictions. Cold cases might be solved more easily as we apply this technology to old evidence and testimonies. However, the concern is how far this technology might extend beyond the justice system. There's a real risk of it being used for constant surveillance or invading personal privacy. We need to be vigilant about keeping this technology within appropriate boundaries.
Thank you, Detective. Dr. Palmer, from your perspective as a polygraph expert, how do you see this technology evolving and impacting society?
I agree with Detective Harris that we're looking at a double-edged sword. The potential for near-perfect lie detection in controlled legal settings is exciting. It could streamline our justice system, making it more fair and efficient. but I'm deeply concerned about the potential for misuse. If this technology becomes widely available, we could see it creeping into job interviews, personal relationships, even politics. Imagine a world where every statement is instantly fact-checked. It sounds great in theory, but it could lead to a society where spontaneity and privacy are things of the past. We might also see a rise in new forms of deception. As people become aware of how the technology works, they might find ways to game the system. This could lead to an arms race between lie detection and lie evasion technologies.
Those are sobering thoughts, Dr. Palmer. Mark, as someone who's experienced both the flaws and benefits of lie detection firsthand, what's your vision for the future?
You know, Rich, I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm living proof of how advanced lie detection can right wrongs. If this technology had existed when I was first accused, I might never have spent those years in prison. So part of me is excited about a future where wrongful convictions become a thing of the past. But I also worry about a world where there's no room for privacy, even in our own thoughts. In prison, I learned the value of having a space that's truly your own, even if it's just in your mind. If lie detection becomes too powerful or too widespread, we might lose that last bastion of privacy.
I hope we can find a balance where this technology is used responsibly to protect the innocent and find the truth, without creating a surveillance state. Maybe we need strict regulations about when and where it can be used, similar to how we handle DNA evidence now. Thank you all for those insightful perspectives. It's clear that while near-perfect lie detection offers tremendous potential benefits, especially in law enforcement and criminal justice, we need to approach its development and implementation with great caution. The challenge ahead lies in harnessing this technology's power for good while safeguarding our fundamental rights to privacy and freedom of thought. As we move forward, it will be crucial to have ongoing discussions like this one involving experts, ethicists, and the public to ensure we create a future that values both truth and individual liberty. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Disruptarian Radio. I want to thank our incredible guests, Detective Sam Harris, Dr. Lisa Palmer, and Mark Jacobs, for sharing their insights on the future of lie detection technology. As we've explored, this advancing technology holds both promise and peril. It has the potential to revolutionize our justice system, but also raises serious ethical concerns about privacy and civil liberties. Before we go, I'd like to mention that here at Disruptarian, we're exploring the cutting edge of technology ourselves. We're currently testing AI to create podcasts like this one. If you're curious about our virtual actors or want to learn more about this podcast, head over to our website at www.disruptarian.com. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, stay informed, stay curious, and always question the status quo. Until next time, this is Rich Garvey Banton signing off. Tune in anytime at www.disruptarian.com and also our sister station at www.athireland.com, spelled ATHYIRELAND.com. Live streaming 24/7, 365, with all of your favorite reggae hits and many you can't hear anywhere else on earth.
Integrity and me guide me heart, it can't twist. Them a push to the lines, them a flip up the script. But me see through the games, me not take no trick. Me say truth of the light, it shine on the way. Them who ideas fake, them can't lead me astray. We say man for the man, and no man for the woman. Just set the